All right, what do we got? Tying up some loose ends over some stuff I was looking at the last several days. It would seem that most of the mythology of man and religious activities are intended to sort of describe this maturing process of various forces in the universe that in the beginning were really chaotic and ill-mannered, so to speak, uncivilized, or really naturalistic. As things progressed and matured in the universe and forms started to take shape, uh, what we have is that's referred to as souls or consciousness or metaphysical us, the product of the flesh and blood, whatever it is, the eyes and the brain and the flesh create something that's not really describable exactly by science. And so where we're at, it would seem, is a place where there's been kind of a coalescence of uh, all these various avenues that were taken for eons and eons by whatever forces you want to call it. That sort of specificity gets maybe in the way of having productive discussions or thought on a lot of different avenues that are pretty contentious. Seems like those forces of chaos, this sort of stories and all religions kind of tell that they're never going to be overcome in a way where you can just set back. You see it in every mythology. There's always this conflict and resolution that usually results in a something new being added to the equation of not necessarily humanity, but community and whatever the story setting is. Usually metaphor on several different levels, depending on your metaphoric really ability, I guess, is, or whatever. You can just draw all kinds of. It's kind of fun. It can be distracting. I think it's one of those chaotic forces where you can choose to emphasize certain things that might not be important, or you can uh, maybe get importance out of that in the end, but it might be a more treacherous path than being able to go directly to things that are actually impactful. So if you look at giants in the Norse mythology, it seems like they're really what you would expect to be the first things that come about that have any sort of ability to make interactive decisions with an environment. So their activities are like change into all kinds of different things. They're naturally magical. They can do sort of feats that really and are on a scale that are really outside of the realm of the gods' natural ability, and they've got to sort of compensate for that when the gods do come into existence, which would sort of be this maturing from realizing, as the giant world went on, I guess there was a certain portion of uh, awareness that said there's more opportunity here to do something that's better than what we have, I think. And so that's when you see what is referred to as the gods come into existence, and they're trying to produce something far better than what the world of the giants was experiencing. So then you can bring this back to the physical world, sort of, and you think of the realm of the giants, where Middle Earth people can't really go without the Rainbow Bridge or whatever you want to call it. It's talked about different ways in different religions. You leave the earthly realm or a certain realm and into another realm that's accessible only with a special means. Um, so I think in the Norse mythology, it makes a lot of sense to say that that's your cosmic uh, uh, scale of things. So these giants are so big. The first one was so big that the entire universe So the gods are always traveling to that larger dimension and interacting there. But the giants are not really able to easily traverse the other uh, dimensions, apparently, without doing some things. And they're always a corrupted force when they do leave the realm of the giants, Jotunheim, uh, and go to the Asgard. They're always causing trouble. And so it would seem when they start the story about Asgard having the wall built and keeping the giants out, and one of the giants were in Asgard and kind of friendly but still chaotic. We see that they maintain their forms. Like if they try to bring the shape shifting ability into Asgard, it doesn't really work. You see all the gods described as very fair and um, their fairness and justice. I mean, even their folly is described, but they still maintain this goodness and fairness appearance and conduct, where the giants really are the opposite. They don't. And the dwarves, either in Midgard, they're very ugly. They don't even like the sun. They like being in their minds. There's uh, this big contrast in the form of the awareness that they're talking about. And it's so when they're in Asgard, they actually take on the form of the Asgardians more as much as they can, or they're restricted from using the chaotic type magic where they're turning into eagles and other things that are just means to accomplish an end that's chaotic or interact an interaction like creating that to find some sort of resolution. And really, the giants are not portrayed in the myths as really that bad. I mean, one steals Thor's hammer, but then he agrees to give it back. Like, I'm not stealing it to take it away forever, even though I know it can or cause a stalemate of our forces. I'll give it back to you, and we'll both be dead in the end for it. Um, but that's still supposed to go from that mythology, which I think speaks to that never-ending cycle of contrasting differentiations of paradigm and consciousness, always having conflict. Yeah, it's a continuous, perpetual cycle of interactions that create new iterations with new difficulties and problems. And the the story of the gods is all about it to me, um, trying to navigate that path as best you can. A really simple allegory would be just walking up a hiking trail. If you don't pay attention to your footfalls, you probably hurt yourself and roll an ankle. But if you're paying attention to your footfalls, you'll be able to navigate the trail pretty easily and keep your equipment in good repair so you can continue on. So the other thing here is talking about some recent science where they're not really recent. I mean, I guess it's just less publicized stuff where Mars. I think it's sort of general knowledge that Mars had what you pretty much got to classify as an aquatic type life form and a lot of water on the planet. And in the mythology, the Norse mythology, and a lot of others, they always talk about the first world where things really did not go very well, and the world was ended, and then a new world began. And whether it's in the same geographic solar planetary region, that space region, on the same planet or not, is always ambiguous or talked about as a different realm or whatever. So uh, this what seems like happened is our sun was probably a bit warmer, or the cooling forces in our solar system were less, and so at one point Mars was more like Earth, and as that degraded and hospitable, then Earth became hospitable, and so we'd actually be like the second place that uh, this solar conscious evolution was taking place, or maybe even more than that. I mean, it could be much older. depending on which mythologies you're looking at, these timelines they're stretching back to pre-beginnings of very pre-beginnings of the realm that we're in, or the iteration of progress that we've made it to now. So I thought it was kind of neat, though, where all these mythologies have really two worlds or a progression. And the Norse mythology says, the last one ended, and now there was a new green earth with a sun and a moon, on and on. So it kind of makes sense if Mars was previously had a hospitable for some sort of form of conscious awareness and interaction. Um, Pretty neat. And to draw this to one more thing, because I really like trying to bring a lot of different points together, we'll talk about the Hopis. So the Hopi mythology is very interesting, where they talk about having intertribal rivalry or competition for certain things, and also telling the history of why certain tribes within the Hopis or certain houses. I hate to be using the wrong terms here, but you know the point of what I'm saying, what it is that I'm referring to. Within those, they have different ceremonial responsibilities that are really requirements in order for the Hopis as a people to continue on. So certain, not necessarily deification type rituals, but they're usually linked always to the individual members progressing in their um, place in the tribe and role and position and ability, and also what's going on with the tribe and their environment, what time of the year it is. So seasonal interactions, requirements for fulfilling that part of the year's duties, whether it's planting, harvesting, storing, celebrating food and other things. So uh, one of the interesting stories is about these two tribes that have to settle a rivalry, probably for a woman, which in most mythology, as I just learned from Lady of the Labyrinth videos, which are excellent, really great, uh, is more representative of what I consider to be the evolution of awareness. So the male aspects or patronage aspects are the actual happenings and doings, and then the feminine aspects, matriarchal happenings, are the resulting sort of conscious evolution that's taking place. Uh, and then you have the lineages that are created, and you're having sons or daughters from mythological characters. You're having new conscious awarenesses or paradigms being built out of the previous set of circumstances that were described. So and so do this, and this kind of stuff happens, and then kids are born and they start acting in a certain way, and either rebelling against the parents or trying to double down on the ideas or this and that, and they always have consequences as well. I don't think there's any short way to really tell these stories, is why they're all so long and complex. And in so when they have this contest between the tribes, though, for the Hopis, and it's why one of the tribes is not allowed to do something. I have to reread the Hopi Bible. Bob, something, can't remember his name, did a good study of the cultural history of the Hopi people and put together what's called the Hopi Bible, and is how he described it in his book. For this contest, it was supposed to be a race to see who's faster, and the agreement was that they shouldn't use magic, but one of the tribes did. So then the other tribe got to use it as well, and it's shape-shifting magic, which is very common in a lot of mythology. It's usually on certain creatures that can do it, and It's usually quite mischievous. Usually doesn't have the greatest results. It'll create a problem, but then it's also a problem solver. So I think there, what they're saying is it's almost like any other offensive ability that humans have. It can be bad and used for tyranny and oppression and things like that, or it can be used for good. I mean, it's very difficult, though, is what these stories always say, to tell what you're actually doing. If it's really actually effective in doing good over a long period, or when you introduce different circumstances that maybe the characters aren't really thinking of, and things usually take a turn for the worse, and you gotta evolve and react. That's just interesting that they all are very similar. Because the giants were shapeshifters in Norse mythology. One of their main attributes is that they can just do all kinds of crazy stuff, keep heat from burning things or heating things, keep people from being able to, or the gods from being able to do feats. Like for the story of Thor, he was told, like we bet you can't drink all of this mead out of the drinking horn. He's like, I'll drink that. I'll drink three of them. It doesn't matter to me. And so he's drinking and drinking and drinking and drinking and drinking, and he can't do it. He tries three times and he can't do it. And later, the giants confess that the drinking horn is hooked to the ocean. There's no way you're going to drink it. But we had a guy down there holding the end in, and he said the ocean level dropped, and we were pretty scared when we saw that. So that's got a ton of different metaphorical things for a paradigm or perspective where Thor really was thinking that what he was doing it, and when he put it down, that each time he thought he had accomplished the task, it wasn't done. But he knew that he had done it, and it was just a trick being played on him. And in the end, the truth does come out and get told. And in the end, Thor's reputation and sort of ability and self confidence is restored because he did put all of his effort into it and believed that he had done it, and then believed that he hadn't, and walked away shamed uh, from the contest. In the end, he was vindicated and restored as a protector of Asgard. Kind of neat. Anyway, that's about it. Take care.